This video is a walkthrough of the finance dashboard on Montana's statewide longitudinal data system, GEMS, or the growth and enhancement of Montana students. For a more general tutorial of navigating and using the GEMS interactive dashboards, watch the GEMS dashboard navigation video first in our playlist. This video covers more specific features of the finance dashboard. The OPI collects and reports an abundance of Montana school finance data in order to answer what fiscal resources are allocated to and utilized by K-12 public schools in Montana. It's important to note that this dashboard uses fiscal years as the time element, where most dashboards on GEMS use the school year. The school finance dashboard contains 3 pages. The landing page is the overview page, the per pupil data page, and the school budget details page. The overview page contains 2 visualizations. The first displays the general fund budget limits by separating into the adopted budget, the general fund base, and the general fund max. The second visualization displays the budget limitations average number of belonging, or ANB, for elementary, high school, and K-12. Right away, you might notice that the finance dashboard contains some data elements that require some defining. For example, the budget limitations are based on A and B. We can use the Data Definitions and Explanations tab at the bottom of the dashboard environment to find a definition for some of these elements. In this case, looking at a definition of the average number of belonging, we see that A and B is calculated by using both the October and the February enrollment counts. The default of the dashboard is to display data for the entire state of Montana, which is why elementary, high school, and K-12 school types are displayed together. However, if a specific school district is selected, the visualization will adjust to display only the school type in that district. For example, if we take a look at Frenchtown, the visualization will adjust to show only that for the K-12 district. Navigating next to the per pupil data page, we'll notice that the selection of looking at Frenchtown K-12 public school is still selected in the slicer menu. If we open this up once again, we'll see only Frenchtown is selected. To once again look at the entire state of Montana, we can select the eraser icon that populates to clear the selection. Closing out, we notice now that the visualization on this per pupil data page displays for K-12, high school, and elementary schools across the state of Montana. There are 3 visualizations that are internal to the per pupil data page. The first lands on revenues. Second is to look at expenditure data for the school or school selected. And the third displays revenue and expenditure details. The pupil ranges that are used on both the expenditures and the revenues graph are based on A and B. Once again, we can use the Data Definitions and Explanations tab at the bottom of the dashboard environment to define elements on the page. For the per pupil data page, this might mean defining what expenditures and revenues mean for K-12 public schools. Navigating back to the dashboard environment, the fiscal budget is proposed at the beginning of the year, while expenditure and revenue data is calculated at the end of the fiscal year. The most current year displayed on these visualizations in the dashboard may vary for this reason. As you begin to explore revenues, expenditures, and their details for specific districts or schools across the state of Montana, you'll notice that the school type filter options on these graphs will adjust. In addition, the per pupil ranges will also adjust based on the schools or districts that have been selected. For example, if we select to look at Missoula Elementary Public Schools, we'll notice that only the elementary tab will populate the graph for revenues, expenditures, and their details. In addition, looking at my revenues and expenditures, I'm looking at a district with more than 2,500 students, and so this is the only per pupil range that populates. Any visualization on a GEMS dashboard can be turned into a table. When hovering over the visualization, 2 icons appear in the upper right-hand corner. The first is for focus mode, and the second is an ellipses for more options. Selecting this ellipses, I can show as a table, and this same graph populates in table format. In addition, any table, any visualization can be exported. Using the ellipses once again, I can export this data either as an Excel or a CSV file, depending on my needs. Once I've selected the file type of choice, I simply export to my computer and it will download directly to the desktop. Lastly, navigating to the school budget details page. This page of the school finance dashboard breaks down the school budget by funding sources, general fund, state funding only, property tax, as well as fund reserves. Transforming a visualization into a table can be a useful trick when looking at small values on a graph. For example, it looks like there were no transportation reserves for Missoula Elementary Public Schools in the 2020 fiscal year. If I wanted to be certain, I could transform this into a table and then examine closely for the 2020 school year. You now know how to navigate the finance dashboard. You have a basic understanding of what data are contained, and you know how to utilize the data and definitions page to explore any concept or data you want to know more about. With these skills, tools, and knowledge, you should be able to confidently start exploring finance and school budget details in Montana. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the GEMS Help Desk.